So today we are going to do two different kinds of chili with the same ingredients, but prepared two different ways. One on a stovetop and one in an oven. Both of these are perfect if you're cooking for just one or two people. For our greens, we're going to be using a kale mix that was freshly harvested here on our farm just a few minutes ago. We're going to be using a 7-grain, and you can use rice or quinoa, but I like to kind of mix a couple different grains together. You throw them into a pot and you cook them for a little bit, not too long, because they're going to do most of their cooking with the chili. I just like to get them a little bit softer. I have some chopped up kielbasa that I'm going to dice, and I have some nice onions. These are Vitalia onions, but you could use any sweet onion. Ours aren't quite ready here at the farm, otherwise we'd be using some of our own local onions. And then over here, I pre-mixed a little bit of garlic powder, black pepper, red pepper, and what I did is I used about 4 ounces of garlic powder for this entire recipe, and then equal amounts of black pepper, and then about 4 tablespoons, heaping tablespoons of red pepper flakes. I didn't put any salt in here, but I did put just a couple dashes of Montreal steak seasoning. You could do literally anything. And don't worry about how much spice to use. You're going to do this by flavor. You can always add more later. And then I have about a pound of ground beef. However, this is not just for one person. We're going to actually be putting them into smaller little bowls. Those are going to go straight into the oven. And then where I have the meat, this is going to be the one that we're going to do on the stovetop. So that pound of meat is enough for about 5 servings. So to start, what we're going to do here, I'm going to move this, and I'm going to take our 4 oven pots here, and I'm going to take a bed, nice bed of the 7-grain, and coat the bottom. Now, most people who make chili are going to make it in a nice big pot, and you're just going to dump everything in, which is a great way of doing it. But if you have a limited cook space, or you want to just be able to make it look very visually appealing to serve to people, this can be taken right out of the oven, allowed to cool for just a few minutes, and then served, and they can eat it right out of this. So I put a decent coating of this right at the bottom. Then I'm going to take our spices, and I'm going to just completely cover 2 spoonfuls over our rice. And if you want it saltier or spicier or less spicy, obviously just adjust your helpings. Now we're going to go ahead and we're going to take some kielbasa. And we're going to halve them. And then we're going to do it again. And basically, one of these pieces, these are about 2 inches long, is going to be for each of these little cast irons. So then we're just going to go like so. There we go. And we're going to take this and we're just going to toss it. It doesn't have to look pretty. It's going to get covered up. And we're going to do that for each of these 4 right here. Now, this is basically a layered chili. Haven't really seen this in recipe books or anything. But what this is going to do is it's going to allow all the meat juices to soak straight to the bottom. And I didn't brown anything. These aren't preheated or anything like that, because when I put this in the oven, under the oven, the meat's going to be at the top, and it's going to brown automatically. Last bit of sausage here for our 4th one. Okay. Now we're going to take 2 sweet onions. These are small, as you can see. 2 of them fit in my hand very nicely. Again, doesn't really matter what size onion you're using. The idea is just to put nice, even amounts We're using about the same amount of onion as our sausage, and about the same amount of meat as our sausage by weight. There we go. So we're going to move that out of the way. And we're just going to slice those in half. And again, just dump it in there. It doesn't have to evenly coat anything. We're just going to put plenty of onion in each one of these little pots. Now, if you happen to have cast iron or ceramic little bowls like this that can go in the oven, that works great. If you don't, then you can just toss everything into a pot like normal. So now our last part of this, before we go to the meat, is I'm going to take some of this kale, nice fresh kale, and this is about 7 ounces. I'm going to use about half of it for these little 4 pieces, and then the rest will go into our big one. And again, we're not measuring. This is just all by eye. There we go. And we're going to cover this with about 1 ounce to 2 ounces of ground beef. That's about 1 ounce. So I'm going to do, there we go. There we go, yeah. So about 2 ounces of ground beef is going to go right on top of this. And then that's ready to go in the oven. So I'm going to go ahead and repeat that with these ones here. And before I actually put it in the oven, I'm going to drizzle a little bit of water over the top of this until it fills all those little cracks and crevices. Because again, this is a chili. We're not making a pot pie or anything like that. We're just going to nicely separate all this meat. Perfect. Okay, so these are now ready. I'm going to drizzle a little bit of water, and I'm going to put these in the oven, and then we'll reconvene in about 2 minutes, and we'll work on the second part of this chili. So now we're going to work on the stovetop version. Same ingredients. I have about half a pound of ground beef in the bottom of this little cast iron pot. We're going to take the remainder of our kale, and we're going to throw that in there. That'll be our greens. And we're going to take our onion. Now, we reversed the orientation of our meat this time. We put the meat at the bottom, and that's because we are going to brown this as we cook it. So when we put it in the stovetop, there'll be water in there, but the first minute or so that it's cooking, it's going to have no water at the bottom. It's going to kind of just be cooking on the cast iron itself. So that meat is going to kind of simmer a little bit, and then as the water gets down there, obviously it'll, there we go. Don't worry about the sizes of your onions or how large the dices are. Now we're going to throw our sausage in here, and because this is a larger pot, I am just going to slice our sausage. We're not really worried about small dices here. And this will be enough for 2 helpings, 2 people. We're going to throw our 7-grain mix right in there and let that go. And then we're going to take pretty much the remainder. That's about 3 large tablespoons of spices. And again, we didn't salt this. There we go. And we're going to fill that to water right about to where the beginning of this lip is. We don't want to cover everything, but we're going to get it about 3/4 of the way full. And then this is going to start simmering on the stovetop. So let me go ahead and transition this to our stovetop. Okay, let's check what we have here. Our oven one is done, about 20 minutes at 425, and it looks like this one's done also. So we'll turn that off. Let's see what we have here. So our stovetop one, as you can see, the meat mixed in with the kale, and you can break up that meat a little bit as you serve it. You could either eat it right out of the pot, or you could put it in a bowl, which we're going to do in a minute. Now, the one that was in the oven over here, you'll notice you almost have a hamburger patty on top. That's how it got put together. And that's on purpose, because it's nicely browned, but then it's nice and succulent on the bottom side, where everything kind of connected. So you would just serve it just like it is, or break it up into 4 or 5 nice chunks. And you'll notice everything mixed in real nice here. So that's ready to eat. So let's dish up this one here, and we'll see how it worked. So we have a nice gravy. The onions, the meat, and the gravy and the spices. Beautiful. So that is ready to eat. So the finished product, we would have one in the cast iron or one in the pot. Whether you make it in the oven or you make it on the stovetop, you have, for 1 or 2 people, a very quick and easy method of making a chili with just a few ingredients. You can use ingredients from your own garden, from a farm, or from the store, and enjoy.